this video, we're going to learn how to read and understand buildings through structural plan. Let's look at this plan. This plan is ground floor beam layout, stroke reinforcement details. If you want to read this plan and understand what is here, this is how you can approach it. First of all, you have to look at these numbers. These numbers are grid lines. And you see these alphabets are also grid lines. So you see this one is numbers. This one is making reference to the vertical grids. And the alphabet is making reference to the what? The horizontal grids. So when you have known this, the next thing now you need to do is this. Having known the grid lines, the next thing you need to do is to identify the beams on this ground floor. So you see these lines with double whatever, these lines are your beams. These lines are your beams. These lines are your beams. These are your beams. Then the thick in between them, connecting in between them are your columns. So when you have identified the beams, now this is the next thing you need to do. How to make references to the beams. How to understand which beam is which one. You see numbers on this plan. You see this one 3, see here 7, you see here 4, and other numbers. Now this is what it means. Let's look at this beam. You see here ground beam 3. This ground beam 3 is located along grid DD. This grid DD, D and D. So it's telling you that ground beam 3 is spanning from here to here. But if you look at this plan, ground beam 3 is not just one, it's 2. You see this other beam spanning from here to here. So you have ground beam 3, DD, ground beam 3, CC. So when you have known that, so this ground beam 3 is horizontal. That is that. Then the next thing for you to do is also identify beam running vertically. Let's use this ground beam 6. You see this ground beam 6 is spanning through grid this and this. Grid 1, 1. This ground beam 6. So it spans through this vertically. You also see that this ground beam 6 is also spanning from this point to this point. Grid 3, 3. Grid 3, 3. So when you have identified these beams, you identify all the beams. You have ground beam 8, ground beam 7, ground beam 4. You identify all the beams. So when you have identified all these beams, the next thing for you to do is this. You don't confuse yourself with ground beam number with grid number. Don't do